All right, I think, yep, it's recording. So here we are in various parts of the country, of the world, I mean, um, for another fun-filled conversation, webinar, whatever you want to call it, between me, Jill Whalen, and Julie Brown, and whoever else may end up participating. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Thanks
How
for coming on and doing this. Should be fun.
I think so. I think if we bring fun as the intention, let's see what happens and plays out. And I always
Yeah.
think fun is my intention. So
That's it. That always works for me as well. So today our sort of unstructured topic is what to do when you don't know what to do, which is a good one. I like it. I don't know if you want to maybe talk a little first and then I can give my take on it too, or either way.
either we are talking, continue. I just put my bit in afterwards.
Okay. So, I mean, there's so many ways of approaching this topic, really. You know, I was joking in the forum on the Facebook group about, you know, like the magic 8 ball and things like that. Even that, like, is actually not a bad idea because the answers still come from us, and that, you know, the ultimate answer is it's going to come from wisdom or a deeper self. But if you use something like a magic 8 ball that says, you know, I don't know, they're very obscure answers. I forget. I think our kids I had one when I was a kid. I think my kids might have had one too. I don't remember. But even that, or we were just joking about tarot cards, or there's like so many things you could use that can spark your own wisdom to come out. I remember reading about something ages ago before I ever, in my old work, before I ever heard about anything like this and really wasn't even into stuff like this. I remember reading something that said, if you don't know what to do, you can take just open a book, a piece of paper, anything that's got some writing on it, and just randomly point to a sentence, and that will give you the answer you need to know. And I did that. I can't remember the details, but what I did it on it was I had like one of my old articles about SEO, which is about how to get your website found in Google, and it was about writing meta descriptions, right? So this was just, and I literally did that on there, and I pointed to some sentence, and I wish I could remember what I got, but it was like so deep and so profound. What I got from that, it solved whatever my problem was. So this stuff comes from anywhere. You know, what to do when you don't know what to do. You can do anything like that. You can wait, you can you can do anything. The one thing not to do is to just make a rush decision from that place of you know, if you're really tied up in knots and really anxious or scared or worried and you think you have to do something or make a decision, I mean, that is when we usually go wrong, because then we're coming just from personal thought, which creates the problem in the first place, is what I found. So that's my little intro, and Julia, let's hear what you have to say.
So again, many years before I ever came across any of this, even before was it any form of self-development, actually long before everything, I've always been of the mindset of, if I've had a decision to make, just flip a coin. And this can be on some really serious, what are classed as big topics. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just flip a coin. And people look at you as if to say, are you stupid? Are you, really? But for me, the answer's never been in the flip of the coin. The answer's always been in my knowing if it was the right flip, the right way it answered.
Yeah.
So if I managed to have, even if I've had like a lot of different options on something, if I've said, right, between these two, heads for this and tails for that, and it's landed on tails, I've known personally whether I wanted it to land on that, so I really knew what to do, or whether I knew I didn't want it to land on that, so I still knew what to do.
Yep.
So I think long before, I've always had that philosophy, and this is, goodness, over some pretty pretty big things. Just flip a coin. And for me, taking the seriousness out of a decision that has to be made, a place that you're at, always shuts down the chitty chattery mind and allows, I've always take the head and the heart. So for me, it allows the heart to communicate and actually tell you, yeah, you're on the right track, or you know you're not going to go there. So that's why it is for me. But this topic, what to do when you don't know what you want to do or what to do, is something that I was going to do an in-person training on a couple of years ago, and just never got around to it, because I've done a lot of training for people in NLP and hypnotherapy and different modalities of self-improvement, and come up a lot of times with trainers have said to me, but what do you do when you don't know what to do? What about when you've got a client and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do? And in this context, and even in that context, my answer has always been, it's not your responsibility to know what to do. It's not your job to know what to do. And people who are in the fixing field, who are in the who take on a role of leadership, so to speak, and people are coming to them for help, for advice, for help with their solutions, they can be a hierarchy sometimes, like a perceived hierarchy, that this person's got the answers and this person hasn't. And that's never the case, because as we all know, we've all got our own wisdom, we've all got our own heart answers. And our job, even when I was doing the training then, our job's never to give anybody the answer. It's just to shine a light in various directions and see what the right answer is for that person. It could just as easy, and actually I've said to people, spin a coin. I've given that answer. I've said, flick a coin, don't ask me, spin a coin and you tell me what the answer is. And it works. It really works. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think there's a lot of value in actually, first of all, if you are not sure what to do, but you don't know what to do when you don't know what to do, first of all, how do you know that you don't know what to do? Because to not know you don't know, you must know. So again, that's the paradox as well that I find quite fascinating. And then there's the self, look, the reflection, and are you trying to fix something? Are you trying to fix something externally? What's actually going on in the problem? And are you in your head and not actually allowing your heart to give you the answers or see the way through the woods, so to speak? Because for me, while we might not know what to do in the full context, we always seem to know the next step. Somehow. That's what it is for me. That's what it means to for me in this. How do you know what to do when you don't know what to do? When you don't know what to do, you're normally in that thought storm of your head.
Yep.
And that's why you don't know what to do, because you've got so many conflicting options, reasons, suggestions, just building and building up. And when you let that go, or when you actually realize or think to yourself, well, I don't know what to do, to me, that's an indication that you're in your head, you're not in the right space to make the decision there and then. So again, there's so much information in that phrase, which is why when you said what we're going to talk about, that just popped up straight away. Yep. Let's go with that and see what comes up.
Yeah, and that's so. I've done that too with the flip a coin, and I've told it to other people too. And as you said, it's not about whether it comes up heads or tails. It's what you realize that you wanted it to come up a certain way. That I wish. Oh no, I wanted heads.
Best out of 3, or best out of 5.
Yeah, and I remember telling that to someone for a little while. A few years ago, I was trying to see if I could help people solve problems. Like I had this insight that there was really no such thing as a problem. And I was really clear that there really wasn't. And that's why I was like taking on any, just tell me your problem, and we'll get to the bottom of it. And a few times I used that as the way for them to solve it. And it was amazing. They came back to me later, and they said, the big things like, should I sell my house? Should, these huge things. And they're like, it was amazing. Like I knew exactly what to do, or what at least I wanted to do. But you know what? The other piece of this is I really, for the most part, believe, and I think this is probably true about everything, at least as far as I've seen, it really doesn't matter. Like there is no right answer. And I think so many people get caught up in thinking there's a right solution, a right answer. And so that's why they're so paralyzed, because they want to make sure they get it right. Oh, if I do it wrong, then I've done it wrong and I'm screwed. But no, if you did it wrong, then change and do the other thing later. Like there's it really doesn't matter. I've never really encountered something where it would make enough difference. Like you can't say what's right or wrong. Just do it and see what happens. Like don't be people are so afraid to just make a decision or just do something. Like you said, the next step. I think baby steps is a great way to attack is the right word, but to, anything is baby steps, because we can't see the huge picture. We don't know how anything's going to turn out, but we can know, well, what can I do next in this moment? What little thing. And it's a great way to approach it.
Remembering that we are absolutely 100% of the time built to deal with what's happening in the moment. When we don't think about it, when we're not getting in our heads about it, when we're just doing as opposed to thinking, we know if there's a tiger coming, we know to get the hell out of the way. You know what I mean? And if there's a bus coming, we don't jump out in front of it. We know what to do in the moment. It's only normally after it, or if we're thinking in the future about something. So it's like, oh, well, this is going to happen. I don't know what to do about it. Or something's happened and they don't know how to deal with it afterwards. And again, before I try and get my train of thought straight back, what I tend to find is when people get caught up in the, well, I don't know what to do, or I have to make the right choice, or it's important I do the right thing, I often say to people with the utmost respect, you're not as important as you think you are. And people laugh because, and because I don't say it in a mean way, but it's when the I is so prominent in a situation. No I is that important, because people are all dealing with a million different things, and it's only our thinking about something, or getting ourselves into such as a tither about it, that keeps us in that place where we don't know what to do. If we took if we're not that important, if it really doesn't matter how we're seen, or not, everybody else's world doesn't revolve around our actions, that frees us up to actually just take the smaller actions that we want to take. Yeah. And that's a hugely beneficial place to be a lot of the time.
Yeah. And part of that problem, if you will, is the way we invent rules, and we invent shoulds. In our mind, we have this whole rule set that we should be doing all these specific things, which we've completely made up out of nowhere because our parents did it, our friends are doing it, our husband told us to, whatever it is, it's completely invented that we should be doing all these things. And then we don't know where to go next, or whatever else, or we don't want it, or we don't do it, or, whatever it might be. And it's just all made up. And it's the same with any of that stuff, any kind of problem, any whatever it is. And being, what you were saying is we know what to do in the moment, like when it's a bus, like that's just being in alignment. You're just jolted into alignment when that happens, when it's a bus or something. But I see more and more clearly that's if we could live more from that space, of just being in alignment with life, the flow, being in alignment with the flow of life, it will just happen, and we don't have to make decisions. It's, you know, we find ourselves doing whatever it is, and that's sort of the goal. And I think the more we live with this understanding, at least what I've seen from myself, is that just happens naturally. Like, I just more and more living in the flow, and, you know, beating myself up less for whatever, and, you know, not just ignoring what, you know, if I get those kinds of thoughts, whatever, okay, thanks. You know, doesn't matter.
If everybody who's on this call or listening to this call, if they think of the last time or the time before that or the time before that when they were in a problem state, a situation, some of the time when they really just didn't know what on earth to do, 100% of the time that passes. Another thing's come up, but the next one comes up. And again, saying that time's not fixed, nothing stays the same. So even if you don't know what to do in the moment, you've probably already done something, because we can't ever not do anything, ever. And two, the next moment's always the potential to give us something else to look at. And as you say, when we tie ourselves up, which we so often do, when we tie ourselves up in the belief of who we should be, of the belief of how we should act, of we should be the perfect parent, the perfect partner, the perfect son, daughter, cousin, employee, employer. Goodness gracious me, it's pretty. If you think about the difference in all of those roles that we are with all of the different people, because you're not the same person with your parents that you are with your children. You're not the same person with your friends that you are with your employer or employees. We have a multitude of roles that we play, and we are none of those roles, and we are all of those roles put together, and we are none of any of that, and everything at the same time. As soon as we can stop taking, you know, if let's just say it's a work problem, for instance, and, you know, we've got a business and we've got to do some things and we don't know what to do about it, that's just a temporary, that's like a piece of the cake of who we are. And when we focus all our attention on that, we forget about the other 90% of the cake, and we focus on that 10%, and we've got to fix that, we've got to be that person. And yet the amount of wisdom the other 90%'s got, and the amount of experience the other 90%'s got, when we let ourselves go and just basically laugh at how stupid we are at times, because I know I am quite often. When we can do that, that's when, again, we can take the seriousness out of something. And that's over some really serious topics. And we can deal with things in a better way. And if the first step's too big, it's not that it's the wrong step, just that often it just needs to be made smaller. That's right. Most things.
And sometimes just waiting, things solve themselves like that. So even with work things, you know, I remember always answering emails, you know, right away, and thinking I had to, especially if there was a you know, it was some kind of problem. And if for some reason I couldn't, it would solve itself the next day. Like, they wouldn't have even needed to. And meanwhile, all those other times, who knows how many times it would have solved itself, or the people figure out some other way.
It never can't get solved in one way or another, because if you look at the let's take Australia, for example, all of the devastating fires that Australia have had, and, you know, what people are going through there is absolutely heartbreaking. And yet the plants are starting to grow back. They will, you know, it's a horrible thing to be going through, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And, you know, my utmost respect and sympathies go out to everybody. And yet I also know that those people that have survived this and getting through this will are resilient enough to keep going, and will that this is a period in their life. This isn't their life. This is an aspect that's happened to them. It's not who they are. And that's very valuable to remember, because sometimes we can have some pretty horrible things happen in our lives, and that's an aspect. It's a part. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah,
that's quite a.
And when you're in it, it feels like this is it, and you have to do stuff, and this is terrible, and everything else, and that's from anything, getting a divorce or the mass things happening, whatever it might be. But then later, it's cliche when they say, one door closes, another one opens, but it's true. And when you look back on our lives, we can see that in action, how certain things, it all builds character and changes us in different ways, if we're willing to learn, even if we're not willing. But
even if we're not willing, we still got to. It still happens.
Right. But you can become more, right, you can become aware of it if you want to look back and see how you grew from it or whatever. But of course it's and there's nothing wrong with feeling horrible during it. Of course you're going to grieve things and people and be scared and everything else, and that's all normal too. That's all normal. That's human. That's part of being human.
And that's quite often a time when you think you don't know what to do, yet you are actually doing, like, getting through each day.
Yeah.
People think, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what will I do. But even just getting up and getting dressed and getting on with the day is doing something. Has anybody got anything that they would like to add? Anything that they would like to get any further clarity on, or anything that they completely disagree with us with? I'm more than happy for all of the above, and I know Jill will be as well.
Yeah, if you want to, you should be able to unmute yourselves, or just wave your hands and I can unmute you.
Sue muted herself.
We can't hear you still, Sue. I think you need a different microphone or something.
If you're on a phone or a laptop or a tablet, sometimes that makes a difference. I know if I use my Surface, I don't have any sound, whereas if I come on my Mac, then I do. So sometimes it does make a difference some strange things happen.
Anybody
so
else?
In the chat box, and we can talk about it as well if you're going to try and figure out the.
Hans has his mute off.
Yeah. I resonate with a lot of things that you said, and I had a strong experience today that it became clear to me that all the rules I set up for myself when doing things and still so many misunderstandings of the principles and I should do it like this and this is the way to do it, and today I just I had a problem, and I'm gonna meet a coaching client in a couple of days, and it's been some sessions, and that's been hard, and I could see that it's hard because I have so many rules how I participate in the conversation, and when I saw that it's okay to just show up as me and say whatever about the principles and do some ICF coaching and some Abraham Hicks or whatever, but when I just be all that I can be, then there's nothing to worry about.
So if you're not that important.
No. And it's not about me in a coaching session as well. It's not for me. It's not.
Oh, excuse me. When I have a coaching conversation, I want as much out of it as you're that person. I'm here to have a chat, and I'm here to be entertained, and I'm here to have some fun, and I'm here to be stimulated. And it's a two-way street when I'm working with somebody. It's a conversation. But you know what? we can never be responsible for what somebody else hears. If you're married, you know that. There's no ifs or buts about it, right? One common thing I say to my husband is, what did you hear me say? Because quite often what I say and what he hears is two completely different things, and vice versa. And that's just natural, because we take a part of what we think someone's saying and we finish it off in our head, and then we react to what we think we've heard, not what we've heard. We all do it. That person that you're coaching came to you for you, the authentic you that you are.
No, not really. It's by recommendation, so the guy didn't know me. And I do a couple of different coaching tracks, and I coach some people with 3P coaching from a 3P community, and some ICF coaching, and it's really hard when I set up the rules that I can only do 3P and I can only do the strict ICF coaching, and then it becomes nothing good. And
that actually becomes an absolute nightmare, because I know I've done that with different coaching modalities that I've done, and what I find now, just mix a lot.
yeah, it's so.
And say what comes to mind. That's it.
I think I would guess that 3P coaching, to me, I mean, maybe you went to some school that told you it was a certain thing, but the very fact that it's 3P should mean that it's whatever comes up in the moment, whatever your wisdom tells you. I would think, but I'm not. I don't do coaching, because I end up just teaching, and that doesn't seem to work. Maybe I could give it another shot these days, but yeah, I mean, I think 3P coaching, to me, it shouldn't be it's not a method or whatever.
Yeah, that was my introduction to the principles. So I did a 3P coach academy, and there should be no such thing. That's not what it is. And so it was presented as a coach academy, but it was all about teaching or preaching the principles, and that's not what I want to do. I'm more happy with just mixing whatever feels right, and just try and fail. It's so nice to just be okay with failing and say, oh, I didn't mean that, and this was not the right thing. Let's go back and try something else, and yeah.
You can always set the session up and say, right, I am absolutely perfect. I get everything right all the time. So if there's something that you're not understanding, you must actually know that it's all on you. You're either not listening to me, you're not processing it right, or you need to ask further questions to make sure you really understand what I'm saying, because after all, I'm the expert here. So if you want to get anything, then that's a lot of bollocks, isn't it?
That was me.
I think it's been all of us at one stage, though, Jill. I think everybody goes through that with the best intentions and the best will in the world to try and fix people who don't need fixed.
Even with doing that, though, like, you could still see how people come up with their own answers. Like you said, it's not what I could tell them everything or tell them all my insights, and they hear what they hear, and so even that works. Oftentimes, because it's always coming from the other person's reality, their own separate reality, and their own wisdom too. When they they hear it, and like you said, it can be nothing I said, nothing to do with that, but whatever it was, it could have been the right thing at the right moment, because it it sparked something else in them that helped them to realize what the answer to their problem was. If again, I don't actually believe there is an answer to any problem, but that's sort of secondary. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to add Just listening, which is fine.
Okay. So if we talk a little bit more about what Hans has said, because I think especially when you've done different modalities of training, when you've followed different people and different people's messages, it can be very I know what I was like, yes, I'm going to do all this, and then I was down that and I was all in with that, and then I was just like, don't like some of that, so then I'm going to go and do all this, and I was all in with this, and then I was like, then I'm going to go and do all it. And I would just go down and do like huge amounts of training, and just go all over the place and just learn everything. And then it just got to the stage where I realized that it was my head that was doing that. It was my head that was telling me I never knew enough. It was my head that was telling me that I always needed to, who the hell did I think I was? Putting all of this out there. How could I possibly help people? Are you getting the I conversation in this when I'm really not that important? And then when I actually just settled down with that, got out of my own way and realized, you know what, Jules, it's really not about you. Get over yourself, woman. And listen to the heart, and the heart just basically said, just go and listen to people, and what happens happens. And that for me was what feels right. And even now I still have times when I think to myself, did I say the right thing there? But you know what, if I didn't, well, I didn't. It's been said.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't need to hold on to investment of I should have said something differently. I don't need to plan the future of, I'm going to say this. For me, if I take my intention, and my intention is to connect with somebody, hopefully with a bit of humour, because that's how it works for me, then the rest just figures itself out, because no matter what happens, every day goes by and people learn things differently and see things differently, and life changes. We're not that important in it. It's not about us.
It's certainly not about our personal thinking,
No.
In
that way, it's not.
It's really amazing, like how much I've been listening to stuff, just like audiobooks about biographies of famous people, things like that. And it's just every human, it's amazing how messed up human beings are. Like, I mean, and I guess that's the idea, to try to get through this, see what happens in this life with as a fallible human being with all kinds of crazy conditioning from childhood and stuff. And for us to know what we know. Like, I was just listening to Sally Field. She's an actress in America. You guys probably have heard of her. She's pretty famous. But she was so messed up from, she had an abusive stepfather and the whole story. And but she I kept wanting to like tell her, like coach her, she did come to some decisions finally, as she's about 70 now, towards the end of this book. But like, if she had known, more of this stuff, how different her life could have been. I mean, she obviously had a great life with, in terms of her career, but mentally she was pretty high maintenance. and that's just one example. Like, all these different people that I've been listening to their things, and it's like, oh wow, you have this image of people, especially famous people, that they must be all perfect and stuff, but no, they don't know what to do, just like none of us know what to do. We're all full of our robotic conditioning.
If you look at even some of the most high profile people, whether it's actors, whether it's singers, whether it's coaches, whether it's motivational speakers, no matter who it is, right? All as messed up as we are. It's as simple as that, because we're all human and we all have had conditional external beliefs thrust upon us of being young. We've all had experiences that have seemingly shaped us and we all take ourselves and our thinking seriously sometimes, more times than others. Nobody's immune from being human and going through the good and the bad. And if you take that back to what do you do if you don't know what to do? If you're in a situation in life that really looks like it's stuck, it's fixed, you don't really have a lot of control over it, the reality of that is it's no different to every other moment in your life, but you're just focusing on it more. Because when we don't really have control over anything. We're doing this webinar now, the electricity could go off at any time, the internet could go down, one of us could take poorly, God forbid it doesn't happen, but we don't know what's around the corner at any time for any of us. And when we are always taking the moments like really seriously, and if we don't feel good, we look for reasons to blame, but we don't look for reasons to blame when we're feeling okay.
Yeah.
And we don't think, oh, I don't know what to do now, I'm feeling really good, what do I do now? We just live it. And actually, when we're feeling crap, if we just live that as well, that's going to pass.
Yep. It's so true, because that it's the illusion of control that is what is part of why we suffer, because we think we've been in control all this time, we feel great, I'm top of the world, and now something happens, one word from someone, or you just get a bad phone call, or whatever it might be, and then the whole world crumbles down, and now we feel like we've lost control, but we never had control to begin with. It was just we were happy with the situation, but it's so, like, if you can not focus on, like, if you can keep going with the flow more, even when the bad stuff, or what we label as bad, like being like sick, if thinking that we have some kind of illness or anxiety and things like that, that focus on it always makes it worse. With the not knowing what to do, the getting scared, and it's not to say that we cannot, but you kind of can learn. The more you sort of see that, the less you focus on it, the you suddenly are better, you get better. Like, the more you can trust that, that does work, like leaving things alone, leaving things alone in your mind, in life too, letting it play out. And that's not to say don't ever go to the doctors or whatever, but you'll know, like, your wisdom will know. If you really do need to go to the doctors, you'll know. But it's, just it, and you can't describe how to go with the flow, although you can learn it a bit if you do certain things, the things you love. You're in the flow when you're doing, if you are a writer or an artist or a tennis player, when you're doing those things, you have to be in the flow if it's going well. And that's it. That's the feeling. That's why we like to do those things, because we love to be in the flow.
It feels as though we've got control over them, and actually what's happening is we're not thinking about them.
Yeah.
We're just doing them. Because as soon as we start thinking about it, as soon as we start, if it's tennis, and as soon as you start thinking, what way am I holding the bat? Am I holding this racket right? You've lost the game.
Yeah.
As you start thinking about it, it's not that we are controlling the situation, it's that we're not thinking about it. That's the core of it. Now, my dog gave birth to puppies on Thursday night, Friday morning, and it really was the most difficult whelping labour, and it wasn't very nice, right? And mum's fine, puppies are fine, but it was I was at one night when I had no sleep for 3 days, so I was a bit like a zombie. And there was a case of when it got to, I helped, she had delivered a couple, and that was fine, but then I just knew that, okay, she needs to go to the vets now, and took her to the vets at 3:30 in the morning, and she's fine, and the vet, did the right thing. But previous to that, I'd already spoken to a vet, and the vet was like, told the vet what's going on. The vet was like, yeah, she's fine, you're doing a great job, just keep doing what you're doing, everything's fine. A couple of hours later, I told the vet, yep, absolutely fine. And I hung up from the phone off the vet, and I was like, no, she needs to go to the vets. And that was it. I took her. I phoned the vet, I went, I'm on my way now. even though the vet had just said, you know, everything's going well. And I was like, no, I'm bringing her in. She needs to come in now. And I took her in, and literally within half an hour, she was having a cesarean section to get the last puppy out. And I hadn't took her, she probably wouldn't have survived the night, to be perfectly blunt about it. So when we don't think, when we're not caught up in our heads and we just do, we know what to do.
Yeah.
We can take advice from other people, experts as we would call them. Everything's fine, don't worry about it. You know, you're doing the right thing. Everything sounds like it's going the way it's supposed to. But we just know. And when we trust that just knowing over the experts in the field, or the people that we think know more than what we do, or that we think are judging us, or that we think have just got it all the shit together when we haven't, if we trust ourselves, we're never going to go too far wrong.
Yep.
Even if we don't know what to do, we will always do something.
Yeah. That's huge, because so many people do that, you know, believe other people know better than they do. That's a huge thing. That's another thing I see in those biographies, that's what, you know, that they listen to other people, and they knew, you know, they'd say, I knew I shouldn't do this, or I knew I should get out of this, or I knew, you know, we all know. And then we override it somehow because we don't trust our knowing sometimes. And so learning to do that more, learning to be able to trust your own wisdom. And we know it, you know, you can look back at the times you didn't and know what that was like, and so use that to, you know, people always ask, well, what, you know, how do I know what's wisdom and what's not? You know, you really do know, but you can override it.
To me, I think wisdom comes with a knowing. The head comes with the emotion.
Yeah.
I think emotions can be quite overwhelming and quite strong, and that, to me, that's often a sign that I'm not in my wisdom, because my wisdom just knows. It doesn't come with a big fanfare and party. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to the vets now. There was no compromise about, I'm doing this. But before that, there was all of that in my head. Like, is she going to be okay? She's panting. She'd be doing this. She'd be doing that. Oh, and there was all of that. That was my head.
Yeah.
You know, the vet said it. That was my head. And that, you know what? Ignore all that and trust the knowing. And when we know that every single person that we talk to has got that same innate, inbuilt guiding system, when, to me, I like to, that's where my focus is. It's like, we've got that, trust yourself, because you've got this. Because we don't need to fix other people, because they've got their own answers. So guiding them towards that and trusting themselves, it's much easier than trying to fix somebody else's problem for when they're not broken.
Because we don't know, right? We don't know their life. And another part of that, when you know like that, even if it's just a split second, do it. Act on. You know, you got to act then, because it's too easy to then override it with your thoughts. You can start questioning it, and then you don't know anymore. You know, you did know. And then if you start questioning it, all of a sudden you get confused again and you don't know. So, you know, don't be afraid to act on those inclinations that you have, because they're right.
Parents do it constantly. They worry about their children all day long about a million different things, and yet when they're not well, they know. They know. You can tell the doctor a million things, but you know what? We know what's going on. We know when to go to the doctors. We know when something's not right. We know in every situation, when we get out of our own way and stop thinking about how we should act, what other people will think, what we say, what we do. I could have been worried and just thought, oh, the vet's going to think I'm a flippant idiot, just told us on the phone that everything's going to be okay. And, you know, there's me, 3:30 in the morning, I'm coming to the vets. And, you know what I mean? It's like, tough from here. And, you know, I could have worried about what she was going to think about me and just, you know, all of that. But I knew what I had to.
Yeah, it's worth it, because if you didn't, and then the next day you'd be like, I knew I should have, you know.
My dog would have been there if I hadn't.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think she would have.
Then you'd really have more stuff to beat yourself up about.
Yeah. So Has anybody else got anything to add, or anybody? Hans, Lucy, Julie, Sue, anybody got anything you agree with, disagree with? Lucy?
To know a fact or an answer, this is Lucy saying, is about recall or analyzing what's already available to be known. The unknown hasn't happened. It isn't recall. It is created in the moment. Flow is allowing that creation to appear. I've got no voice. Yeah, I agree.
Flow can be knowing what's already known, because if you think of a sports person, if you think of somebody driving a car, if you think of anybody doing something at a high level, they are revisiting what they know, but they've known it that many times, they've done it that many times, it's gone into their unconscious when they just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of that as well. I think, but I agree with creative flow is just the creation's appearing, you're in the moment, it's happening without the thinking about it. As soon as the thinking comes in, the rest comes crashing down. That's when all the insecurity comes up. That's another, what will I say? What will I do? What will I think comes out?
Yeah. And that is an important point.
Oh, they don't, that's right. You're totally right, Lucy. They don't know what's happening in the moment. And the second that they do, that's when they've lost it. As soon as the awareness of actually what they're doing is there, yeah, completely agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. And the expertise or the knowledge that we gain is important, because that's also being able to trust that, we're all experts in our own lives, and so we do learn, like you said, driving a car or whatever it is that we do with tennis or whatever, then you can trust it. There's a learning curve to it. You have to first learn it, and then you do have to be thinking while you're sort of still learning. But once you've got something down, then trusting that it happens naturally. It just happened naturally, and it's not you. It's like that other part of you that's just able to do it. It's funny because even like walking, if walking upstairs or downstairs, if I think about it for a second, like all of a sudden I have this thought about, okay, I got to walk up these stairs. I can't do it. I fall or I trip or I stub my toe. It's crazy. Or the car, if you're driving a car, especially a stick shift, it's like if you think about it, you suddenly put it in the wrong gears. But not thinking about it and just allowing it to happen naturally. It's like the car becomes part of you. The walking up the stairs it's all you, or not you personal you, but it's all life flowing.
The doing, not the thinking. The just being, and not just thinking. Being. There's a circle, I remember years ago, something along the you've got your unconscious incompetence. So that's it. You don't know what you don't know. So you don't know that you can't drive a car until when you were kids. You don't know you can't do something. And then you've got your conscious incompetence. So that's when you know that you can't do it. And then you've got your unconscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence. The next one is your conscious competence. So that's when you start to know that you can do it, and then you've got your unconscious competence. That's when you just do it without even thinking. So that's it. It goes full circle from not knowing it to learning it to learning it and being judgy about it, and then just doing it and then forgetting that you know it again. So then you just don't even realize that you don't know that you know it because you're just doing it. And that's what we do when we learn a car or anything with high skill. Really, that we've done that many times. It just goes into our being of who we are, and then we can just do it without. But again, doesn't matter what it is. As soon as we start to think about it, we can't do it.
Yeah, and the interesting part of that, people think you're a genius. Like when you can work from that, in my old work, that's how I worked, and I used to call it Zen. I had an article about the Zen of SEO because I did it. I just I had enough experience and I knew what I knew. And so I just could do it without thinking. And so because of that, it was like genius. It was different than other people who would spend too much time, thinking and analyzing instead of just knowing what they knew. And so it's funny that people will think you're a genius when you, you learn your craft and then you let it happen. and you don't have to make a decision.
It takes a lot of hours of practice to make something look so simple.
Yeah, it does. And if you love something, if it's your passion, you know, that's where that happens. And I call that passion power. You know, you're just fueled by that passion or addiction, as the case may be.
The other side of the coin, yes.
There's a fine line, or maybe it's not. It's the same thing.
Quite possibly. Julie, have you got anything to add? No, she's speaking to me.
She's doing this, not raising her hand.
That's not the point. Come on, Julie, come on and speak to us. Go on, you can do it. Don't think about it, do it. Bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you will see your microphone.
Want me to?
Yes.
Okay.
You might get some screaming kids here in a minute.
That's fine. We'll say hello to them as well. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks.
Good. Has anything made any sense?
Parts of it, yeah. I'm merely just here to listen this time and just take it in. So I've not really got anything to add.
No problem whatsoever. So nice to say hello.
That's fine.
Hello.
Hello.
Hans, have you got anything else to add, my dear?
Yeah, I was thinking about, I don't know if I can make this understandable in English, but there's something with wisdom, because it's to know what to do. You sort of, I've way before I didn't trust my wisdom at all, and I believed I could learn from experts and read and so on. And then with the principles, it's all about the wisdom, and I get so lost if my wisdom gets better by learning from experts. So my wisdom has increased immensely the last couple of years. So I can see that there's a certain part of the wisdom that's innate, but another part is something you learn by experience and trying out stuff and learn new things, and that's where I'm at the moment, that I've seen that innate wisdom is just a part of it. It's not the whole thing.
How did you know that you were going to learn that? How did you know that for you, going and learning from other experts was the right thing for you to do?
It probably wasn't, because then I wouldn't have spent 45 years searching.
No, I mean this one that's coming now. I mean the one that when you're doing it now, when you're listening to the experts, like you're saying in the 3 principles. So you know that some of it's you're innate, but also you have got value, which I think we've all got value from doing training and learning. But for me, I think there's got to be a time when we know we've got to get off that treadmill of just constantly learning, because that's actually, it goes from being productive to being counterproductive, to being useful to being more harmful than good.
Yeah.
For us, that's how it feels for me anyway. It's how it's been for me.
Yeah, it's like finding a balance there to still be open and curious to learn new things, but not have the need or you must learn.
Yeah, that's it. But that's it for me. It's the wanting to do something or wanting to learn something, not feeling as though I've got to or I need to, because if I don't do it, then I'm going to be rubbish. It's because I want to do it or I'm interested in it. That's huge for me as well.
Except when it comes to learning from you and me, Julie, then it's important. People. Anybody else, it doesn't matter.
Anybody else doesn't matter, but you should always listen to me and Jill.
You have to choose your things wisely.
Be careful for what you wish for. That's what I always say.
I had an advantage in that way because for some reason I've at least my identity's always been like that. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, so I never really fell into that trap of the, of course I'm not I'm not doing anything or making any money from it either, but that's okay too. But like I always felt like I can, I mean, there's enough stuff out there to learn any of this stuff where I didn't need to pay. It's always a question of, do you have more time or money? I mean, like I had the time, so I was able to just learn on my own. Whereas I suppose if I had less time, I would just say, all right, I'll just pay for this thing and probably get a fast track. But I don't know if that's even possible.
Right, I've just spotted we have some other people that I didn't realise, because I didn't realise we had more people joining the call, because I just got a bit too busy and chatting away to myself. So hello everybody else.
They're incognito though.
Yeah, hiding.
Which is fine.
I did that normally as well when I'm busy doing other things and I've got it playing in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why not? There's always so much to do and not enough time, isn't there?
Yeah, it's nice that people could come on live. We've got about 5 or so minutes left. I don't know if there's any.
We've mostly stayed on topic. Who knew?
We've tried. You've done a good job of keep bringing it back, which is good.
Who knew?
It's funny to have enough to speak on this, because it doesn't, it's kind of cut and dry in my mind about making decisions. But yeah, it's all related to everything else that we know of, on this, within the 3 principles, within the inside out understanding, within psychology, within spirituality, all of the different things.
If anybody has any ideas of any topics that they'd like Jill and I to just muse over next month, because I think we're going to do it again, Jill. Do it again.
Fine with me.
If you've got anything that you'd like to hear our unique view of the world with, please feel free to pop it in Jill's group and let us know, or type it in the chat box. Yeah, if you'd like to type it in the chat box, and just
or a message. You can message either of us on Facebook or something too,
and just let us know. And maybe, you know what, I think it's good to listen to lots of different people, because I always find little nuggets from different people, and it might just be a word, it might just be a phrase, it might just be a sentence out of a full thing, but I think, oh yeah, I like that. And that's why I like listening to a wide variety of different people, not because any of those people are particularly experts, but just because I like the way that different people say the same thing.
Yeah.
Explain the same thing. And it's fascinating, because just as Jill said, she didn't think that would be able to keep going for an hour pretty much on this topic that just seemed like, well, it's pretty obvious. And yet, it hasn't really been difficult at all, has it?
No, it really hasn't. And as you say, with different people, I mean, you and I have very different ways, I think, of talking about it, but it's, but yet we are saying the same things. We agree, we're not disagreeing, but we do have different ways of thinking, because our lives are different. We have different experiences and different, and
there's so much
we come at it from different ways. And
there's so much value in hearing that, because one person might just think, God, that Julie never shuts up and talks really fast. And Jill says something really, really cool, but then somebody else might just hear something that I say, oh, I like that. And that's the value in listening to lots of different people. And it's also why we always invite people to come in and join in, and actually, if you want to chat or discuss anything, then do so, because everybody's got their own wisdom and their own views to share as well. And it's always useful. So I can't be heard. Maybe I need to listen tonight. To shame that too, isn't it? I don't know what's happening with that.
But that's a good point, that maybe that was, when I have technical issues, I think of that too, that, maybe that was the universe telling me something good, that's a good point.
Shut up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And, oh, wait, Janice just said something. The thing that resonated with me the most with this chat was being aware of concentrating on the 10%. Oh my God, going to notice that more. It's what I've been doing, slowly recognizing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've missed that. I've missed that on the chat. So let me go back and see if I can. I can only say Lucy's, and Sue's can't be heard. So I don't know why I can't say anything else.
Or maybe she sent it just to me.
Oh, maybe.
Hopefully she didn't mind me reading it. It didn't seem too private.
No.
All right. Well, we're up on the hour here, so thank you. And yeah, just message us if you have some other ideas for topics privately or in my Victim of Thought group, and we'll plan another one.
Let us know what you thought. Thank you, Lisa.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a lovely evening, daytime, nighttime, whatever it is for you.
See ya.
Bye.